additional crisis resolutions that inhibited a resolution to her crisis were the social and religious expectations and her personal resistance to treatment and assistance. Even to this day, she is not prone to talk about her mental health issues. I'm actually surprised she opened up to me about them, giving some previous background and motivational interviewing. It did take a while to get her to open up about her mental health challenges. However, I'm really glad that she did. She just comes from a generation and a religious background where you don't talk about that. You would just assume talk about the weather, then talk about what's actually personally going on with you. Some of the diversity and differences that go along with that are her strong Italian Catholic standards. And she was married very young, which is not unusual for this generation. However, having depression and body issues being so young was not as well talked about or addressed as a teenager. And then she had limited education, which again is not unusual for that time frame. The oppression, again, back to that lack of education, relationship and religious standards, her workforce expectations, again, not far off from her societal expectations for that generation. However, she did not want to be a stay-at-home mom. She really wanted to enter the workforce and contribute to her family. The multi-systems lens that can influence her aspirations or opportunities. Again, that her family did not promote the education. She didn't have education. They didn't support her when she tried to drop out of high school, or when she did drop out of high school. They didn't encourage her to not do that. She did place her children into private school. She went to private school herself. So back to the financial supports being allocated towards things, and not really into herself, and paying for additional private school that she wanted to go to when she was 16, when the public school had the snooty girls, was just not an option anymore. And then obviously the big issue is constantly moving, consistently being one coast versus the other, and in multiple states at multiple times, and not having time enough in one state to lay down some roots and actually mentally be in one space for a while. The additional theory is the Kohlberg theory of moral development. This is a 6-stage development in 3 different levels. So we're looking at level 3, which is the post-conventional reasoning. So this is accepting yourself and your morals. Stage 5 is in this level 3. It's about the obeying and questioning laws. So like having morals and understanding where your morals lie. And stage 6 are going to be your principles of conscience and your right versus wrong, and how that goes along with the common good. So for her reflection in level 3, she had self-esteem issues, she had weight issues, confidence issues, lack of confidence physically, academically, and personally. She did want to rebel from her parents. That was evident by going out of state and eloping with the first man that came into her life. However, she didn't want to upset them, and she wanted to follow their religious beliefs. When she talked about her history, she was only in trouble once with the law, and that was when she backed her car into a telephone pole in Michigan. And that was natural given the course. So she obeyed the law. However, she didn't want anybody involved in her business, and just kind of laid low, flew under the radar a little bit. So the limitations of this theory is that they're kind of divided by gender and cultural issues. What is good and bad in my culture is going to be different from someone else's culture. We all look at things very differently. Some of that can be social, with your moral standards. For example, if someone's in trouble for stealing food to try to feed their starving children, is it morally wrong because they stole the food? So that's where your moral compass comes in with your right versus your wrong. So, this theory is very limited, and then it kind of pigeonholes people, into certain sections, and it's very cultural specific, so it doesn't allow for a lot of, interpretation. So, I really had a great time interviewing, Miss Helen, and I, can't wait to do it again and find out more. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.